Ooh. Let's take today to dig into Microbrew. Microbrew was designed by Sarah and Nigel Kennington. It was an entrant in the 2017 Boardgame Geek Mint Tin Design Contest, where it tied for first place in Best Overall Design. It was later brought to Kickstarter by One Free Elephant Games, where it delivered to backers in March of 2019. Microbrew is a worker placement game that pits two players in head-to-foamy head combat, trying to attract the most loyal customers. They'll do that by taking actions you would typically see in a brewery, placing malts in the mash tun, brewing beers by moving these malts around, bottling beers to a specific recipe, and then serving those beers to thirsty customers. Give a customer a perfect beer matching their favorite style, and they'll become loyal to you for good. It's all pretty simple, and after your first pass through the rulebook, you'll think, yeah, I got this, piece of cake, nothing to it. You'll start to play, you'll see your opponent make a move, and you'll think, oh, I know what they're doing. I don't really want them to do it. I'd like to stop them. And then you realize that you can stop them. Because while this game is called Microbrew, and it comes in this cute little tin and has these smiling customers and these little pastel-colored meeples, this game is about conquest. It's about stabbing your opponent in the neck and leaving them in your sudsy dust. Consider the rule on bottling beers, which lets you fulfill a recipe card with any malts you choose. You don't have to get it right. Now, doing this to a recipe you already own may not really be of much use, but doing this to a recipe available in the common pool takes that recipe into your hand, denying it to your opponent for the rest of the game. Now, you can't just snag up any customer with the wrong beer, except when you can. But you can give them a beer that they don't like, and in doing so will actually make them not want to have any more. A problem I can't say I've ever experienced. It flips them over face down the table, though, denying your opponent the chance to serve them a beer themselves. And as I hinted at, there's the advertise action, which for the price of any perfectly brewed beer and $4 for every existing loyal customer you have, will let you snatch up any customer off the table, adding them to your fold for good. You may only get one shot at this during a game, but planned carefully, it could drastically change the tide. And the cutthroat gameplay doesn't stop there. See, you can take any action that you don't currently occupy. If an opponent occupies that space, you simply give them back their worker to take another action with in the future. But if they occupy that space, that means they generally can't take that action again until the round resets. Play this carefully, and you can force them to wait and watch while you line up a critical sequence of actions. Take my last game, for example, where I had the perfect beer ready for the last customer left on the table, but it needed 3 more turns to ferment before I could serve it. Now, I knew my wife could serve that customer a beer, flipping them over and possibly ending out the game. So instead, I served them a different beer, flipping them face down. My wife then took the serve action for one of her loyal customers, putting some money into her pocket and returning my worker back to me. This set me up to use the break action, flipping the customer back over. With her meeple in the serve space, however, she had no way to stop me from using my next action to serve the now ready beer and claiming the last customer, clinching the win. It's appropriate that this tiny game has a beer theme because it's deliciously enjoyable and a little bitter all at the same time. But just like that small glass of beer, it can leave you with a little bit of size envy. Basically, Microbrew would be awesome if it came in a bigger box. I get that it was somewhat purpose-built for a competition, and there is a lot of game wedged into this tiny tin. But when you're tempted to use tweezers to move these malts around the kettle, and when you have to literally organize the wooden bits by thickness just to get them back into the tin, you make a game that's harder to enjoy than it really deserves to be. Microbrew is still fairly easy to come by, and I'd probably encourage you to do so if you have the chance. If you're brave enough to go bottoms up and you've got an empty pocket you've been itching to fill, well, you could do a lot worse. Until then, how about we have another round? Cheers.